So, I have in my hands right here arguably the most powerful gaming smartphone. This is the Asus ROG Phone 6 Pro, and compared to the previous generation, this is such a huge step up in so many departments. Now, as you can tell, this is quite the refresh in terms of the design, especially compared to the previous generation. And most prominently, you'll probably notice the larger camera cutout. The entire module is now way larger and occupies much more visual space, making it stand out quite a fair bit. The back is also where you'll find a unique display called the ROG Vision Mini Display, about 2 inches in size, that can be fully customized via the use of Armoury Crate to show things like your notifications, the clock, standby, and gaming modes, and much more. And on the opposite edge, you'll find a small text that says Dare to Play, in which the lighting can also be customized as well. It's a really nice touch in our opinion. With regards to colors, you have the option to choose between Phantom Black or Storm White for the standard ROG Phone 6, while for the Phone 6 Pro here, it's only available exclusively in Storm White. Honestly, we take that as a win. This is arguably the nicer of the two. Black and red might be the usual jam, but white and blue is really refreshing, especially for a gaming-centric device. It also does bring out the visual aesthetics a little bit more. Now of course, the look isn't for everybody, but you have to admit that it's rather unique, and the back is really smooth as well. This does make it really comfortable to hold, and there's texture at some places as well due to some of the embossed text. As for the sides, it's a matte metallic finish all around, and you'll find the power button and volume rocker on the right, alongside the 2 air triggers which are really customizable, 2 Type-C ports, and surprisingly enough, the 3.5mm headphone jack, which is a nice sight for sure. But to note, the phone is only rated for IPX4, so definitely do be careful when you're near any kind of water surfaces. With all that said, it's still a pretty large phone with quite the substantial weight, so your mileage might vary depending on the size of your hand. And personally, we'll definitely recommend using the included case as well, just to err on the side of caution. But now let's talk about the display, because this also does get a slight upgrade. 6.78-inch AMOLED with a resolution of 1080 by 2448 running up to 165Hz with a 720Hz touch sampling rate, and apparently 23 millisecond ultra-low touch latency. It's also HDR10 Plus capable, covers over 100% DCI-P3, and can get up to over 1000 nits in max brightness. Needless to say, it's a fantastic display. The resolution is high enough and the colors are really vibrant with great contrast. It's great for your usual content consumption in YouTube and as such, just browsing the web on, of course, playing games. On the other end of the spectrum, Asus has also worked with Pixelworks to tune the display for color accuracy. So if you're more of a content creator, editing photos or videos on the go, this display is going to be fairly capable of that as well. But again, the best use case here definitely has to be gaming, especially with that 165Hz refresh rate and 720Hz touch sampling rate. Games just look great and feel great to play, especially when playing high refresh rate capable titles. Nothing much about it, it's just a fantastic no-nonsense display that really delivers. Now visuals is but just one half of the equation when it comes to a great gaming experience. The other half is actually audio. Well, Asus has thought of that as well. You get a pair of front-firing speakers that simply sounds fantastic. It's certainly going to be better than quite a lot of other smartphones out there. In addition, Asus has worked with ROG to optimize the sound, including their spatial audio solution, to provide a seriously great audio experience. In our testing, just watching shows on YouTube, on Netflix, and gaming on games like Genshin, it's really been a stellar experience, and thanks to the placement of it, you wouldn't block it all that much in a typical gaming grade per se. Though we have to say that it still isn't the best, because there's one other smartphone that really reigns supreme when it comes to onboard smartphone audio. And if you want to check that out, you can click on the card up above. But now, let's really dive under the hood, because this is where it gets the biggest upgrade. We are talking Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 with 18 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM and half a terabyte of storage. So basically, you're getting the best of the best here, as powerful as you can get with a gaming smartphone right now. According to Asus, it's about a 15% increase in CPU performance and a whopping 50% improvement in GPU performance as compared to the Snapdragon 888. and we would say that it definitely shows. In addition, it's slightly more energy efficient as well. In Geekbench 5, it managed a score of 1316 and 4186 in single core and multi-core respectively, which is honestly really impressive. This is probably the first Android phone we've tested that has surpassed the 4000 mark in multi-core. Pretty insane. As for 3D Mark, we usually test the wildlife benchmark, but unfortunately, it would seem that the ROG Phone 6 Pro is far too powerful. So instead, we ran the Wildlife Extreme test and it managed an overall score of 2783 with an average frame rate just shy of 17. Now it might not sound like much, but this does put it near the top of the leaderboard. But now let's talk about games, because this is, well, seriously what this phone is all about. Playing games like Genshin Impact, performance at the maximum possible settings use about an average of 60 frames per second with little drops for at least 25 minutes or so before it starts to scale back a little, dropping the average frame rate to 50 or so. It might not sound like much, but it's pretty impressive, no less thanks to the cooling system with a larger vapor chamber as well as additional graphite sheets. Throughout the entire gaming session, the Snapdragon chip was able to hover just shy of 50 degrees Celsius and the surface temperatures were well within reason as well, still fairly comfortable to hold on. We would say that the same holds true for other games such as Apex, Asphalt and much more. But if you want a game with basically no throttling at all for at least like an hour, well, the new Aeroactive Cooler 6 is going to be your new best friend. This is an add-on accessory that can attach to the ROG Phone 6 Pro via the side-mounted Type-C port, and not only would it cool down that Snapdragon chip, but also provide additional buttons and triggers which you can map to whatever you like. In either the Smart or Frosty mode, temperatures were reduced by up to 70 degrees Celsius on the chip, and if you plug it in and toggle Frozen mode, that drops by a further 2 degrees Celsius. In a game like Genshin, it has really been particularly useful for both the additional controls and performance, and the cooler surface temperature. In addition, with the use of Armoury Crate, you'll be able to set and tune the performance settings for any individual game and accessory, so you can have full control over the balance between performance and battery life as and when you like. And so, we do have to touch upon the battery life. Just like before, it sports a really large battery at 6000 mAh. You can expect all-day battery life with general usage and roughly 3 hours or more if you're gaming all the way. It will also support fast charging with the included 65-watt hypercharge adapter, allowing you to charge from 0 to 70% in just about 30 minutes. So, it's a gaming phone through and through, and in that regard, the Phone 6 Pro really does deliver. But what about the cameras? Well, honestly, not too shabby at all. You get a triple camera system with a 50-megapixel main camera using the Sony IMX766 sensor, and a 13-megapixel ultra-wide camera and a macro camera. Shots taken with the main camera are by all regards not bad at all. Great colors, well exposed, good white balance, all the usual. As compared to the previous ROG Phone 5, we would say that it's definitely a step up, but still doesn't compete with the best of the best out there from the likes of Sony, Samsung, Google, Apple and more. Video recording, however, is pretty amazing, for this is actually capable of not just 4K 60 frames per second, but 8K 24 frames per second. So we did some test footage and we have to say that this is definitely not practical in any way, especially given the fact that a mere 10-second clip would be about 150 megabytes in size, but it is quite jaw-dropping in terms of details when it comes to a brightly lit scene. If slow motion is more of your fancy, well, this will also be able to do 4K 120 frames per second or Full HD at 240 or HD at 480 frames. Whichever it is, well, you definitely have lots of options, so your pick. As for the selfie camera, it's 12 megapixels, and to note, you don't get a notch. Now the quality of the photo is going to be fine for the most part, but do make sure that any form of beautification is turned off if you want a more natural looking photo. Overall, the cameras are just getting better and better, especially for this category of smartphones, and honestly, it's going to do well for most people out there. Now, it's definitely not the best, but unless you are to really scrutinize, you wouldn't really see much of a difference. If you're just going to share your photos on social media and the likes, well, it's going to be plenty fine. But at this point, there are a few things that we do want to mention that isn't that great with the ROG Phone 6 Pro, and to that extent, on the standard 6 as well. The first of which would be the fingerprint sensor under the display. While it is accurate and does work, it is a tad slower than others in our experience. Now of course, we are nitpicking here, but honestly, Asus should have just made the power button double up as the fingerprint sensor instead, because not only would it be faster, but you wouldn't need to fumble about to find the exact spot at every occasional time. Secondly, the included charger. For a flagship gaming phone that's poised to be the best of the best, it does only have a mere 65-watt charger for fast charging. This would have been fine a year ago, but since then, the competition has grown much stronger, with the likes of 90 watts or even 120 watts, able to charge a phone from 0 to 100% in less than half an hour or even 15 minutes. Now we feel that especially given the status as a flagship, Asus do have to buck up on this front. And lastly, well, we have to talk about price. As mentioned, this is the ROG Phone 6 Pro and it has all the bells and whistles, but that also means a flagship price. Now at the time of recording, we do only have the Euro pricing, but we'll update the US pricing and our local pricing in the description once we have that info. Anyways, we are looking at about 1300 euros for the 6 Pro with that ridiculous 18 gigs of RAM and half a terabyte of storage. Not going to lie, that is quite a bit of cash. If that is a little too much, you can opt for the non-Pro model, which will set you back 1000 euros or 1150 euros respectively. Now without a doubt, you're going to get a really great experience here, and it's honestly quite amazing given what Asus has managed to do to tame this powerful beast of a chip. But we do have to mention that competition is getting really tough nowadays and there are many more options available for arguably the same experience but costing much less. Something to take note for sure. But in any case, the ROG Phone 6 Pro is a really solid gaming smartphone through and through. And it just gets even better if you pair it with accessories such as the Aeroactive Cooler 6, which allows you to game for really long hours at a time. Especially with that Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, that is simply fantastic. And included with all the other features about the phone, the cameras, the usability, that display, it's just a great phone, even if you're not focused on gaming per se. As a daily driver, it still is just a great phone. Well, as long as you're willing to fork out that price. That's about it. A really great phone, but just a little tad expensive in our opinion, but perhaps well justified. In any case, if you have any questions, let us know in the comment section down below. If you'd like to, do check out the affiliate links as well. If you do, thanks for your support. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Till the next one. See ya!